They said I was just a maid, but 20 years later, I was the only one he called Mama. Written by Eberichukwu. 1. I was just a teenager from a small town. My name is Ugoma. I was 17 when I came to the city with one suitcase and a heart full of hope. The job agency said, a wealthy family in Abuja needs a maid. They have one child. I agreed. That's how I met baby Julian. He was just 6 months old. Tiny, with big eyes and a gentle smile. His mother, Mrs. Nwosu, was kind but distant. His father, Dr. Nwosu, barely noticed me. But that baby. He held my finger like he was holding onto life itself. 2. I gave him more than they paid me for. I woke before dawn. Prepared breakfast. Sang lullabies from my childhood. Julian grew fast. By age 3, he could already say, Mama Ada, I love you. That melted me. I wasn't just a maid. I was the one who rocked him through teething fever. Who sat beside him during nightmares. Who stood up to Mrs. Nwosu when she scolded him for being too loud. But still, I was told, greater than, don't overstep your role. You're just staff. So I stayed quiet. And loved him in silence. 3. I became invisible as he grew. As Julian grew older, Mrs. Nwosu brought in tutors, sports coaches, and music instructors. They wanted him refined, elite. I became the background. He was told to call me Ugoma, but when no one was looking, he'd whisper, greater than, you're still my mama, right? And I'd smile. Yes. My love. In every way that counts. 4. When they sent me away, at age 15, Julian was sent to boarding school in the US. The house suddenly felt like a tomb. A week after he left, Mrs. Nwosu called me into the sitting room. She didn't look up from her book when she said, greater than, you've done well. But we don't need you anymore. They gave me an envelope. No hug. No farewell. Just silence. 5 years passed. I never heard from him again. I moved back to my hometown. Opened a small bakery. Sometimes I'd pass young boys on the street and imagine what Julian looked like now. Was he tall? Did he still love soccer? Did he still remember me? I prayed for him. Every night. 6. The day I saw his face again, on TV. One morning, my neighbor ran into my bakery screaming, Ugoma. That boy you raised. He's on TV. I rushed outside. There he was. Julian Nwosu, founder of a global renewable energy company. 25 years old. A visionary. Standing on a CNN stage saying, greater than, the woman who shaped me wasn't my mother. She was a maid who taught me everything. I fell to my knees. He remembered. 7. The invitation letter. A month later, I got a letter. Gold seal. Foreign stamp. You are cordially invited to the charity gala of Mr. Julian Nwosu, to be held at the Echo Hotel. I wept. I bought the best Ankara fabric I could afford. Sewed it myself. At the event, I stood at the back. Then I heard his voice, greater than. Today, I want to thank someone who made me who I am. She changed my diapers. Taught me compassion. Loved me even when I had nothing to offer. People called her the maid. But to me, she's the only mother I've ever had. He pointed at me. The spotlight followed. And for the first time in my life, I felt seen. 8. The battle over his wealth. When Julian's father passed away, the family's wealth was disputed. Uncles, aunties, and long-lost cousins appeared from nowhere. But Julian's will made it clear, greater than. To my biological family, I leave some assets. But to the woman who gave me life without birthing me, I leave the majority of my estate. She is my mother in all the ways that matter. Silence. Someone shouted, "She's just a servant." Julian's lawyer replied, greater than, "She's the only one he ever called Mama." Today, I sit in the same house where I once served tea on my knees. But now, I walk the halls with dignity. Julian is still making a difference in the world. And every time I see his smile in the papers, memo I whisper,